It's funny. When a doctor looks at an X-ray of a broken arm, there's just this expectation of absolute precision.
Oh, absolutely. It's binary, right? The bone is either broken or it's not.
Right. You look at the image, you see that jagged white line on the bone, and the doctor just points and says, there it is.
Yeah, and in a strange way, that visual clarity is actually very comforting.
But when you sit down for the IBPS English exam, it can feel like that X-ray machine is just completely broken.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, we all speak, read, and write every single day, right?
Yeah.
We're seamlessly building these massive, invisible structures of communication.
Yeah, without even thinking about it.
Exactly. But when you are suddenly forced to audit that invisible structure, say, under the intense time pressure of a competitive exam, the diagnostic landscape gets murky very fast.
It really is the ultimate diagnostic challenge. I mean, you already know how to communicate in English. You do it effortlessly. But an exam environment demands mechanical, structural perfection. You're asked to locate a microscopic fracture in a sentence without relying on your everyday intuition. Because, as we'll see today, your conversational intuition can actually lead you straight into a trap.
Exactly. And that is exactly why we are here with you today for this deep dive. Our mission is to help you reverse engineer what you already know so you can spot the structural traps the exam setters have laid out for you.
We're going to bring it all down.
We really are. We're going to sequentially conquer Section 1 of the IBPS CRP PO and MT 2026 Model Paper 08, covering questions 1 through 30. Think of us as your personal diagnostic guides today.
And our approach today is going to be rigorous, but, compassionate. We aren't just going to read you an answer key.
No, that wouldn't help anyone.
Right. For every single item, we will uncover the core grammatical or verbal concept at play. We'll break down the exact logic, the why, and the how, so you can apply this exact framework yourself, no matter what your academic background might be.
I love that. So let's jump right in. The first hurdle is part 1, which is reading comprehension, covering questions 1 through 8.
The classic test of focus.
Yeah, and the biggest challenge here isn't usually the reading itself, is it? It's resisting the urge to bring your own outside knowledge into the text.
That is such a crucial point.
The passage provided for this section discusses the urban heat island effect. Basically, how concrete makes Indian cities much hotter than surrounding villages, and how tree canopies offer a natural remedy.
Right, and the exam evaluates your ability to extract direct evidence from the page, not your general knowledge of global warming or city planning.
Let's see how that actually plays out in question 1. So the prompt asks, according to the passage, why do neighborhoods stay hot long after sunset?
Okay, so what's your instinct here?
Well, as someone who lives in a city, my brain immediately thinks about, air conditioners running everywhere, or maybe heavy evening traffic.
Which is exactly the assumption the test makers are hoping you'll make.
Ah, of course.
But if we look at part 1 of the passage, it strictly states that concrete roads and rooftops soak up the sun all day and release the heat at night. Therefore, option E is definitively correct.
Because it's literally written right there.
Exactly. Option E is that concrete soaks up heat by day and releases it at night. The text does not mention traffic or streetlights warming the air. A great rule of thumb here is, well, if it's not on the page, it does not exist.
If it's not on the page, it does not exist. I love that. I'm going to write that down. That rule makes question 2 pretty straightforward, actually. It asks, as per the passage, scientists call this phenomenon the urban blank effect.
Right, so this question is testing contextual terminology. You simply have to match the term to the definition provided in the text.
So no guessing required?
None. The text states verbatim, scientists call this the urban heat island effect. So option C, heat island, is the undisputed correct choice.
Makes total sense. So once we've identified what the urban heat island effect actually is, the exam immediately pivots to testing our understanding of the solution.
Moving the narrative forward.
Right. Moving to part 2 of the passage. Question 3 asks, according to the passage, what do tree canopies do?
Here, the exam evaluates your ability to trace a direct causal link. The passage explicitly states their canopies block direct sunlight.
Okay, so we just matched that up.
Exactly. This directly points us to option E, block direct sunlight. It's the physical mechanism that, along with the release of water, cools the shaded street.
Which brings us nicely to question 4. As per the passage, city planners want blank along roads and parks. The options include glass towers, wider drains, solar panels, native trees, and water tanks.
This is a fun one.
It is, because solar panels are a massive green initiative right now. I mean, wouldn't city planners want those?
In the real world, absolutely. In the closed ecosystem of this passage, no.
How's that rule again?
Right. This evaluates your ability to filter out logical but non-textual assumptions. The text explicitly links mitigating heat to planting native trees. So option D is the only valid choice. Choosing solar panels would be falling for a theoretical distraction.
Got it. Stick strictly to the script. Question 5 asks, which of the following is true as per the passage?
For this kind of question, you must methodically cross-reference each option against the text.
Process of elimination.
Exactly. Option B claims saplings give immediate shade, but the passage says they need years of care. Option C claims cities are cooler than villages, which directly contradicts the opening sentence.
Right, the whole premise is that cities are hotter.
Yeah. But option A states, a shaded street can feel several degrees cooler. That is a verified fact straight from part 2, making option A our verified truth.
Perfect. Now we get into vocabulary, which is questions 6 through 8. Question 6 asks for the word closest in meaning to sweltering. Here's where it gets really interesting to me.
How so?
Well, I know what sweltering feels like in real life. I feel like a potato baking in foil. But how do we deduce this formally from the text without just guessing?
That's a great question. This is where we use a heuristic called semantic trajectory.
Semantic trajectory. Okay, sounds fancy.
It just means, instead of asking, do I know the dictionary definition of this word, you ask yourself, does the paragraph have a positive or negative charge?
Oh, I see. Okay, so the passage is complaining about oppressive heat making summers harsher. It's a highly negative, uncomfortably hot charge.
Exactly.
So if we look at the options, freezing, breezy, scorching, we can just cross out anything with a cool or positive charge.
Got it. You build a conceptual fence around the possible meanings. Scorching, which is option B, fits that extreme heat trajectory perfectly. We eliminate opposites like freezing or breezy immediately.
That's such a smart way to approach it. We can apply the exact same logic to question 7, which asks for the synonym of mitigate.
Let's see you try it.
Okay, the sentence talks about wanting native trees to mitigate the heat. Well, the trees are the proposed solution, right? A solution reduces a problem.
Yes.
So we need a word that means to lessen. Option C, reduce, fits perfectly. Choosing increase, option A, would entirely reverse the intended meaning.
Spot on. You use the context to define the unknown word. And then we have question 8. Which word is most opposite in meaning to harsher as used in the passage?
The classic exam trap. People read harsher, their brain recognizes it, and they immediately look for a synonym because they completely forget the prompt asked for the opposite.
It happens all the time.
So options A through D, tougher, rougher, crueler, sterner, they're all synonyms. Option E, milder, is the only antonym here.
That is a perfect demonstration of why careful reading of the prompt is just as critical as understanding the text itself.
Moving right along into part 2, the Cloze test. This covers questions 9 through 13. I like to think of this, well, if reading comprehension's extracting meaning from a fully built house, a Cloze test is like being handed a single gear in a watch.
That is a fantastic analogy.
Thanks. You have to look at the teeth of the words surrounding the blank to see what shape will actually lock in and turn the sentence.
Exactly. A Cloze test evaluates syntactic harmony, does the grammar work, and thematic consistency. Does it fit the story? The narrative here is about Indian factories, fresh graduates lacking practical experience, and how apprenticeship programs try to fix this.
Let's look at the first gear. Question 9. India's factories often complain that fresh graduates lack hands-on blank. The options are holidays, skills, opinions, uniforms, hobbies.
So what's the lock here?
Well, in everyday English, certain words just like to hang out together. In an industrial setting, hands-on almost exclusively pairs with skills or experience. So option B, skills, locks right in. Complaining about a lack of hands-on holidays or hands-on uniforms makes zero sense.
Precisely. The formal term is lexical collocation, but words that hang out together is exactly right. Let's get question 10. Apprenticeship programs try to blank this gap by placing students in real workshops.
Here we have a gap between education and employment. You don't celebrate a gap, and if you're trying to fix it, you don't ignore it. In English, we metaphorically bridge a conceptual gap, so that's option C.
You are identifying the correct metaphorical verb to describe the resolution of a problem. Now, question 11. Trainees who spend months on the shop floor blank machines confidently and learn habits of safety.
Well, the paragraph is moving toward a positive outcome. The goal is building competence. Therefore, trainees wouldn't learn to fear or break machines. They learn to operate them safely.
Right.
The word that captures this operational competence from our choices is handle, option D.
And what is the benefit to the employer? Question 12 says, companies, in turn, get workers they can blank immediately.
They get workers they can put to work right away. Verbs with a negative charge, like dismiss or punish, completely break the narrative logic. Deploy, meaning to put into action, is the exact technical fit here. Option A.
Which brings us to the final gear in this section, question 13. And a modest stipend makes the scheme blank for students from poor families.
A stipend is money. Money is a positive reinforcement. So we logically need a positive adjective to describe its effect. Options like painful, useless, or harmful are just logically impossible. Option E, attractive, perfectly completes the harmony of the sentence.
By recognizing the positive or negative charge of the situation, you neutralize the ambiguity and eliminate the distractors instantly. You're doing great.
Thanks. Okay, part 3. Pair of jumbles, questions 14 through 17. I like to think of this as assembling a chronological puzzle. We have 5 sentences, labeled A through E, about the history and future of bicycles.
The evaluative framework here requires us to map the overarching narrative trajectory before we answer any specific questions. We really need to find the historical anchor, the transition, and the conclusion.
Okay, let's look at the raw materials. A is, many cities now build separate lanes. B is, cheap motorbikes slowly push them aside. C is, the humble cycle may yet reclaim its place. D is, not long ago, bicycles ruled the streets. E is, today, traffic jams are reviving old affection.
So where does the story start?
Well, sentence D acts as our clear historical anchor, right? Not long ago, bicycles ruled the streets. It introduces the subject in the past. But what happened to that golden age?
Look at the other sentences for the chronological shift.
Sentence B gives us the decline. Cheap motorbikes slowly push them aside. So we have that chronological shift. Then we need to jump to the present day, which sentence E explicitly flags for us. Today, traffic jams and fuel bills are reviving old affection.
Excellent. That renewed interest in the present day is a catalyst. What action does that catalyst cause?
If people are riding bikes again, cities have to respond. Sentence A provides the resulting action. Many cities now build separate lanes to keep riders safe. It's direct cause and effect.
Which leaves us with...
Which just leaves sentence C as the forward-looking conclusion. The cycle may yet reclaim its place.
So the complete logical trajectory is D, B, E, A, C. Once you establish that sequence, the individual questions are just simple data retrieval.
Exactly. So question 14 asks for the first sentence. That's option D. Question 15 asks for the second sentence. That's option B. Question 16 asks for the fourth sentence. That's option A.
And the final one in this section.
Question 17 asks what follows sentence E. Since renewed interest in E prompts the safety lanes in A, the answer is option A. Taking the time to build the sequence makes the questions basically effortless.
It's all about investing time in the structure so you save time on the answers. It really works.
Now, shift gears with me. We are moving from the macro structure of paragraphs down to the microgrammar of single sentences. Welcome to Part 4, Error Spotting, questions 18 through 22. In this section, you are the auditor looking for structural discrepancies.
This requires high vigilance. We are evaluating syntax and strict rule application because, well, our casual, everyday speaking habits often mask real grammatical errors.
Let's test that theory. Question 18. Find the error. The sooner you finish, that's part A, the work. Part B, the better it will be. Part C, for all of us, part D.
What's fascinating here is the psychological trap. When asked to find an error, candidates tend to overanalyze and just invent one.
Because they assume there has to be a mistake.
Right. But this sentence relies on a standard parallel comparative pairing. The sooner the better. It is structurally sound. Therefore, option E, no error, is the correct choice.
Don't fall for the phantom error. Okay, question 19. The quality of part A, these mangoes are, part B, far better than part C, those we bought earlier, part D.
The error lies in part B.
Okay, wait, I have to push back here. I'm imagining a massive basket of mangoes in front of me. Mangoes is definitively plural.
True.
There are multiple fruits. Why wouldn't the verb be are?
And that right there is exactly why this question is on the exam. It is testing a specific vulnerability called a proximity error.
A proximity error.
Yes. The verb are is sitting right next to the plural noun mangoes, so it sounds completely correct to your intuitive ear. But if we audit the structure, mangoes is just the object of the preposition of. Ask yourself, what is the sentence actually about? What is better?
Oh, the quality is better.
Precisely. The true subject of the sentence is the singular noun quality, Because the subject is singular, the verb must be the singular is. The correct phrasing is, the quality of these mangoes is far better. Option B contains the error.
That is incredibly sneaky, but the mechanics make perfect sense when you break it down. Let's look at question 20. I have visited Part A, many countries, but Part B I have not still. Part C, seen the Taj Mahal. Part D.
The discrepancy is in Part C.
Let me guess. People say I have not still done that all the time in casual conversation, but structurally, the adverb is in the wrong place.
You nailed it. The exam tests your formal knowledge against your informal habits. When using still and not in a present perfect construction, still must proceed not to correctly modify the negative state.
So it should be I still have not seen.
Yes. Saying not still completely reverses the natural structural position. Option C is the error.
Question 21. The child was Part A so tired that Part B he could not. Part C hardly walk. Part D.
This evaluates the concept of the double negative. The word hardly intrinsically carries a negative charge. It implies almost not at all.
Right.
When you pair it with could not, you are layering two negatives, which grammatically cancels out the meaning. You must drop the not. The correct phrasing is, he could hardly walk. Option D is the error.
Makes sense. Question 22. Supposing if, Part A, it rains tomorrow, Part B, the match will, Part C, be postponed, Part D.
The error is isolated in Part A. Both supposing and if are conjunctions used to introduce a condition. Using them concurrently is grammatically redundant.
It's like wearing a belt and suspenders for the same pair of pants. You only need one to do the job.
Exactly.
You must choose either supposing it rains or if it rains. Never both. So option A is our error. Let's keep this momentum for Part 5, phrase replacement and fillers, questions 23 through 28. Spotting the crack in the foundation is step 1. Knowing the exact right cement to replace it with is step 2.
This requires mastering collocations and prepositions, basically understanding why certain words demand specific partners in formal English.
Question 23 asks us to replace the phrase, the patient succumbed with his injuries.
The verb succumb, when denoting yielding to disease or injury, exclusively takes the preposition to. We don't succumb with something. Option B, succumb to, is the correct rule application.
Next is question 24. She is married with a doctor.
This is a classic false pairing. In English, marriage is treated grammatically as a direction of commitment towards someone, hence, married to.
Yeah, saying married with wrongly implies an activity done alongside someone, right? Like, I went to the store with a doctor.
Exactly. Option C, married to, is definitively correct.
Question 25. The syllabus comprises of 6 units this year. Now, I need to push back on this one, too, because I hear executives and managers say comprises of in corporate boardrooms constantly. Our portfolio comprises of. It sounds very professional.
It sounds professional, but it is a pervasive colloquial error. What's happening is that people are mentally blurring two different phrases, composed of and comprises.
Ah, I see.
The verb comprise means to consist of. It is a transitive verb, which means it takes a direct object without needing a preposition. The whole comprises the parts. Adding of is completely redundant. We validate option E, the syllabus comprises 6 units.
So by saying comprises of, people are essentially saying consists of. Good to know. Let's do some fillers. Question 26. The judge blank the witness to blank only the truth.
We must analyze the specific professional context here. A courtroom operates on legal authority. A judge doesn't beg a witness to dance, and forcing a witness to hide the truth reverses the entire purpose of the judiciary.
I would hope so.
A judge issues a directive. Therefore, option D, directed and state, is the only logically sound pair.
Question 27. Heavy discounts blank shoppers to the mall during the festive blank. Well, what is the fundamental economic purpose of a discount? It acts as a pull factor, it draws people in.
Right, but it doesn't push them away.
Exactly. Verbs like repel or scare contradict reality. A discount attracts. And festive season is a highly standard English pairing. So option A, attract and season.
You are relying on natural collocations and basic socioeconomic logic. Let's look at question 28. The committee will blank its report after it has blank all the evidence.
Here we map the procedural logic of a formal inquiry. The timeline dictates that evidence must first be analyzed before a conclusion can be finalized, right?
Exactly.
Hiding the report or destroying evidence contradicts the definition of an inquiry. The only sequence that maintains logical integrity is option C. They will submit the report after they have examined the evidence.
You are systematically using context to dictate the vocabulary. It is a highly effective strategy.
Which brings us to the final stretch. Part 6, vocabulary mastery. questions 29 and 30. This is a pure test of lexical retrieval. Question 29, choose the word closest in meaning to candid.
To be candid is to be open, honest, and straightforward. If we analyze the semantics of the options provided, secretive is a direct antonym.
Right, what about the others?
Words like rude or shy describe behavioral mannerisms, not the quality of honesty. Option E, frank, is the precise synonym we need.
And the final question, question 30. Choose the one-word substitute for a person who loves and collects books. The options are bibliography, librarian, author, bibliophile, scholar. Now, I know the answer is bibliophile, which is option D, but could you break down the roots of those wrong answers, just to provide some extra value here?
Absolutely. So the prefix biblio comes from Greek, meaning book. Phile denotes a lover or enthusiast, hence bibliophile.
What about the distractors?
Well, looking at the distractors, a bibliography uses the suffix epigraphy relating to writing or listing, so it's a list of books. A librarian is a professional who manages a library, not necessarily someone who collects them for personal love.
Right, that's a job.
Exactly. An author creates them, and a scholar studies them. Only option D precisely fits the definition of a lover and collector.
And just like that, we have navigated the entire gauntlet. I want to warmly congratulate you for completing this rigorous, unfragmented progression through all 30 questions of Section 1. Your dedication to reverse engineering these grammatical and analytical frameworks is going to pay massive dividends when you sit down for that exam.
It is a significant accomplishment. You took the time to understand the mechanisms, not just memorize answers. But before we go, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over.
Let's hear it.
We just spent our time dissecting rules of grammar, vocabulary, and logical sequencing. But consider this. These questions aren't merely testing whether you know English. They are actually testing your brain's ability to recognize patterns, filter out irrelevant data, and construct rational arguments under pressure.
Wow, that's true.
As you continue your studies, ask yourself, how can mastering the mechanics of language make you a sharper, more analytical thinker in every other aspect of your life?
When you learn to see the invisible structure of a sentence, maybe you start seeing the invisible structures everywhere else, too. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep practicing, have confidence in your logic, and show some compassion for yourself along the way. You've got this. Usually when you first open a massive exam paper, especially, a quantitative aptitude section, there is this immediate, very real sense of dread.
Oh, absolutely. It's completely overwhelming.
Yeah, like it feels like you are standing at the bottom of a sheer cliff face. You see 35 questions stretching out in front of you, and your brain just kind of, it freezes.
Right. As humans, we like things to be bite-sized and manageable, but a full test section, it feels like a solid wall of numbers just waiting to trip you up.
Exactly.
If you are listening to this right now and preparing for your exam, I just want you to take a deep breath. We are going to approach this with absolute patience.
That's the perfect mindset. Because when you step back, that cliff face actually has handholds. Today, we were walking you through Section 2 of the IBPS CRP POMT Preliminary Examination Model Paper.
And we are doing this thoroughly. We'll be covering questions 31 through 65 sequentially.
Honestly, it's not a cliff. Think of it more as a marathon. You don't sprint the whole way, right? You just take it step by step, finding your rhythm.
Exactly. And we are going to be right here holding your hand through every single logical step. There are no magic tricks here, just mechanisms. Once you understand how the mechanism works, well, you take the power back from the exam.
Let's get right into that rhythm then. We start our marathon with the foundation of modern banking reading and interpreting data.
Ah, yes, the data tables.
Right. The first 5 problems, starting at question 31, revolve around a data table showing company employees across 5 departments. That's P, Q, R, S, and T in 2024, alongside their percentage change for 2025.
What this is actually testing is your ability to do mental percentages quickly, without getting bogged down.
Right.
So question 31 asks, how many employees did Department R have in 2025? The table shows R had 300 employees in 2024, and it grew by 20%.
Which sounds easy, but under pressure, people panic.
Exactly. Under pressure, please don't try to write out a long multiplication. Find 10% first. 10% of 300 is 30. Double that to get 20%, which is 60. Add it to the original 300, and you gently arrive at 360.
That is such a calming way to do it. Building right on that, question 32 asks for the exact number of employees by which Department Q changed.
Notice it doesn't want the total, just the raw change.
Right, just the change. So Q started with 500 and fell by 10%. Well, 10% of 500 is simply dropping a zero. The change is 50 employees.
Spot on. Then for question 33, they widen the lens and ask for the total number of employees in the entire company for 2025.
Oh boy, so we have to do that mental math for all of them.
Yes, this forces us to run that same mental math across the board, but it's quick. P goes from 400 up 15%.
Okay, so 10% is 40, half of that is 20, making a 60-person increase. P is 460.
Perfect. We know Q drops 50 down to 450. We already calculated R is 360. S is 600 with a 5% increase. 10% is 60, so 5% is half that 30. S becomes 630.
Okay, and finally T.
Right. T drops 25% from 200. 25% is just a quarter. A quarter of 200 is 50, leaving T at 150.
Got it. And when you sum those new totals, 460, 450, 360, 6 and 30, and a 150, you get an overall company total of 2050 employees.
Which perfectly sets up question 34. They want the ratio of employees in Department P to Department T for 2025.
Well, we just found those numbers. P is 460, T is 150, so it's 460 to 150. You just knock off the zeros at the end to simplify, leaving you with 46 to 15.
Exactly. Closing out this table with question 35, you're asked by what percent the company's total strength changed from 2024 to 2025.
Okay, if you sum up the original 2024 column, you get a clean 2,000. And we just found the 2025 total is 2050.
Right, so that is an increase of 50 people. To find the percentage, you take the change, which is 50, and divide it by the original base of 2,000.
50 over 2,000 simplifies to 5 over 200, which is 2.5%.
Just like that, 5 questions down, you're doing great.
But now, for questions 36 through 40, the exam shifts format to a wordy caselet about income and expenditure. I know these cause panic.
They really do. People see a paragraph of text and freeze.
Yeah, when you read a dense paragraph of math, it feels like an impossibly knotted necklace. But the trick to a knotted necklace is finding the one specific clasp you recognize. Once you unhook that, well, the whole thing loosens.
That is a perfect analogy. In this caselet, that clasp is the flat currency amount given. The text tells us person A and person B have incomes in the ratio of 3 to 2 and expenditures in the ratio of 5 to 3.
Right, ratios are abstract. They just kind of float in the air.
Exactly. But then comes the clasp, they both save exactly 1,000 rupees every month. That anchors our math to reality.
So for question 36, we set up simultaneous equations. Let's attach variables to the ratios. Incomes are 3x and 2x, expenditures are 5y and 3y.
Since income minus expenditure equals savings, what does A's equation look like?
For A, we get 3x minus 5y equals 1,000. And for B, it's 2x minus 3y equals 1,000.
Right. To solve this conceptually without a headache, you want to eliminate one of the variables by making the coefficients match.
Okay, how do we do that?
Well, if you multiply A's equation by 3 and B's equation by 5, the y terms both become 15y. When you subtract one equation from the other, the y completely disappears, revealing that x equals 2,000.
Oh, wow.
Plug that back in, and y equals 1,000.
With the knot untangled, question 36 is easy. It asks for A's monthly income, which we called 3x. 3 times 2,000 is 6,000 rupees.
And question 37 asks for B's monthly expenditure, which we called 3y. 3 times 1,000 is 3,000 rupees.
Then question 38 asks for the ratio of A's savings to B's savings. Now, you might be tempted to start calculating based on X and Y.
Stop right there. Take a step back and read the text again.
Right. It explicitly stated they both save 1,000 rupees. The amounts are identical, so the ratio is instantly 1 to 1.
I see so many students fall for that trap. It's a test of observation, not just calculation.
Definitely. For question 39, we need to find what percentage B's savings form out of his income.
So he saves 1,000. His income is 2x, so that's 4,000. 1,000 out of 4,000 is 1/4, or 25%.
Finally, question 40 gives us a hypothetical scenario. If A's income rises by 10%, but expenditure stays the same, what are his new savings?
A's original income was 6,000. A 20% increase means finding 10%, which is 600, and doubling it to 1,200.
Add that to the base, and his new income is 7,200.
Exactly. His expenditure stays at 5,000. Subtracting the two leaves new savings of 2,200 rupees.
10 questions in the bag. Now, moving to questions 41 through 45, we transition into a completely different mental gear balancing equations and inequalities.
If you're listening on the go, don't panic trying to visualize the numbers here. Just focus on the rules of quadratics. We are comparing variables x and y.
Right. Question 41 is x squared minus 3x plus 2 equals 0. compared to y squared minus 6y plus 8 equals 0.
To solve a quadratic, you need two numbers that multiply to the final number and add to the middle number. For the x equation, they must multiply to positive 2 and add to negative 3.
Those numbers are minus 1 and minus 2.
Correct. When you pull them out of the brackets to find the roots, you flip the signs, so x is 1 or 2. For the y equation, you need numbers that multiply to 8 and add to negative 6. That's minus 2 and minus 4.
Flipping the signs, the roots for y are 2 and 4.
Since the highest possible value for x is 2 and the lowest possible value for y is 2, x must be less than or equal to y.
Okay, question 42 is x squared plus 15x plus 56 equals 0 against y squared plus 7y plus 12 equals 0. Notice everything here is positive.
The rule here is that if both signs in the original quadratic are positive, your final roots will always be negative.
So for x, numbers that multiply to 56 and add to 15 are 7 and 8. The roots are minus 7 and minus 8. For y, numbers multiplying to 12 and adding to 7 are 3 and 4, meaning roots of minus 3 and minus 4. Wait, seeing 7 and 8 makes me think x is bigger.
This is a classic cognitive trap. You have to picture the number line. Negative 3 is much further to the right. It is a greater value than negative 8.
Oh, right, because it's negative.
Exactly. So every single possible value of x is smaller than every value of y. The answer is strictly x is less than y.
That spatial reminder helps a lot. Moving to 43, we have x squared minus 9x plus 14 equals 0 versus y squared minus 8y plus 15 equals 0.
Following our factorization rule, x gives us roots of 2 and 7. For y, we get roots of 3 and 5.
But hang on, 2 is less than 3, but 7 is greater than 5.
When the ranges overlap like this, there is no single, always true mathematical rule to define their relationship. It completely depends on which specific roots you pick.
So your answer here must be no relation can be established.
Precisely. Question 44 gives us a bit of a freebie. X squared minus 18x plus 81 equals 0.
That's a perfect square, representing x minus 9 squared, so x is simply 9.
And the y equation is y squared minus 16y plus 63 equals 0. Factoring 63 to sum to 16 gives us roots of 7 and 9.
So x is 9, and y can be 7 or 9, therefore x is greater than or equal to y.
The final equation problem, question 45, gives us larger numbers to test our nerves. X squared minus 27x plus 180 equals 0.
Under time pressure, factoring 180 seems daunting.
The trick is to break it down. Start with something easy like 10 times 18. That sums to 28. We need 27, so we are very close.
Oh, I see. So you just shift the factor slightly inward to 12 times 15. That perfectly sums to 27.
Exactly. So our roots for x are 12 and 15.
That adjustment method saves so much time. For the y equation, y squared minus 19y plus 88 equals 0. Factoring 88 to sum to 19 leads us to 8 and 11.
Comparing the sets, every value of x is greater than every value of y, so x is strictly greater than y.
Now we enter the wrong number series section for questions 46 to 50. You are shown a sequence and have to hunt for the imposter that breaks the pattern.
Question 46 is 5, 6, 16, 57, 246, 12, 45. When numbers jump exponentially like that, the hidden mechanism is almost always a combination of multiplication and addition.
Let's test that. From 5 to 6, you multiply by 1 and add 1. From 6 to 16, you multiply by 2, which is 12, and add 4. Oh, I see the pattern. 1 is 1 squared, 4 is 2 squared.
You've got it. The rule is multiply by a number and add that number's square.
So 16 times 3 is 48 plus 3 squared, which is gives 57. Following that, 57 times 4 is 228 plus 4 squared, which is 16, should equal 244. But the series lists 246. The imposter is 246.
Beautifully done. Question 47 is 4, 9, 25, 49, 122, 169. This one relies on visual recognition. 4 is 2 squared, 9 is 3 squared, 25 is 5 squared, 49 is 7 squared.
Oh, wait. These are the squares of consecutive prime numbers.
Exactly right. The prime after 7 is 11, and 11 squared is 121. The sequence says 122, making it the odd one out.
Next, question 48. 11, 14, 20, 29, 41, 57. Let's look at the gaps between them.
The gap from 11 to 14 is 3, then the gap is 6, then 9, then 12.
These are just multiples of 3. Following the mechanism, the gap after 41 should be 15, which brings us to 56. The number 57 is incorrect.
Question 49 practically shouts its mechanism at you. 512, 256, 128, 64, 32, 18. Each number is exactly half of the previous one.
Right. Half of 32 is 16, so the 18 at the tail end is wrong.
6 times 2 is 12, minus 3 is 9, 9 times 2 is 18, minus 3 is 15.
If we jump to 27 times 2 is 54, minus 3 is 51, the series lists 53, so 53 is the wrong number. Awesome. Now you face the simplification and approximation questions from 51 to 55.
This is where you rely heavily on Bodemaeus rules brackets, orders, division, multiplication, addition, subtraction. Do not let the order of operations trip you up, and look for mental math shortcuts.
For sure. Question 51 asks for 76% of 250 plus 44% of 150. Trying to find 76% of 250 in my head sounds miserable.
But there's a trick. Percentages are commutative. 76% of 200 is exactly the same as 250% of 76.
Wait, really? Oh, wow. 2 times 76 is 152, plus half of 76, which is 38. That totals 190.
And for the second part, 44% of 150 is the same as 150% of 44. 44 plus 22 is 66. Add 190 and 66, and you get 256.
That is exactly how you buy yourself extra time on an exam. Question 52 is the cube root of 1331 multiplied by 21 minus 9 squared.
Memorizing basic cubes is essential here. The cube root of 1331 is 11. 11 times 21 gives you 231.
Subtract 9 squared, which is 81. You are left with 150.
Question 53 gives us fractions. 11 over 12 of 1440 minus 13 over 15 of 900. Don't multiply first. Divide to scale the numbers down.
Good tip. 1440 divided by 12 is 120. Multiply that by 11 to get 1320.
For the second part, 900 divided by 15 is 60. 60 times 13 is 780. Subtracting 780 from 1320 leaves 540.
Question 54 is specifically an approximation problem. 35.02% of 719.99 plus 4.98 squared.
The mechanism here is knowing when to ignore the noise. Round the decimals away. Treat it as 35% of 720 plus 5 squared.
To get 35% of 720 mentally, find 10%, which is 72. Multiply by 3 to get 30%, which is 216.
Add another 5%, which is half of 72, or 36. 216 plus 36 is 252. Add the 5 squared, which is 25, and you arrive at 207 seconds.
Wrapping up the simplification with question 55, we have, in brackets, 18 times 15 divided by 6 plus 14 squared.
Because of BODMSS, we solve the brackets first. 18 times 15 is 270.
Divide by 6 to get 45. Add 14 squared, which is 196. That gives a final total of 241.
You are doing incredibly well. Now we take the raw calculations and apply them to real-world scenarios in applied arithmetic, covering questions 56 to 65.
First up, question 56. The highest common factor, or HCF, of two numbers is 12. Their lowest common multiple, or LCM, is 144. If one number is 36, find the other.
The golden mechanism connecting these is that the product of the two numbers always equals their HCF multiplied by their LCM.
So 12 times 144 equals 36 times our mystery number. But wait, instead of multiplying 12 by 144 to get a giant number, can't I just divide 144 by 36 right away?
Yes, absolutely. That is how you avoid careless errors. 144 divided by 36 is 4. Multiply that by the 12, and the other number is 48.
Nice. Question 57 is a problem on simple interest. A sum of money doubles itself in 8 years. In how many years will it triple itself at the same rate? My immediate instinct is to say 12 years. If it takes 8 years for one cycle to double, adding another half cycle to triple it, right?
This is perhaps the most common trap in the entire paper. You have to focus on the interest generated, not the final amount.
Oh, I see.
If you start with 100 rupees, doubling it means you earn exactly 100 rupees in interest. It takes 8 years to gain that 100% profit. Tripling your money means you need to earn 200 rupees in interest.
That is twice the amount of interest, requiring twice the time. 2 times 8 gives you 16 years.
Framing it purely around the interest earned changes everything.
Question 58 moves to time and work. Person A takes 20 days to finish a job. Person B takes 30 days. They work together for 4 days. Then A leaves. How many days will B take to finish the rest?
We need to find their combined daily work rate. A does 120th a day. B does 130th. Add those fractions. 360 plus 260 equals 560, which simplifies to 100 or of the work per day.
Over 4 days, they complete 412ths, which is exactly 1/3 of the total job.
That leaves 2/3 of the work remaining. If B can do the whole job in 30 days, doing 2/3 of it will take B 20 days.
Question 59 is speed and distance. A thief runs at 8 kilometers per hour. A policeman is 200 meters behind and gives chase at 10 kilometers per hour. How long until the catch?
We use relative speed here. The policeman is gaining on the thief at a rate of 10 minus 8, so 2 kilometers per hour.
The distance gap is 200 meters, which we must convert to 0.2 kilometers to match the units.
Time equals distance divided by speed, so 0.2 divided by 2 is 0.1 hours. Multiply by 60 to convert to minutes, and the catch happens in 6 minutes.
Question 60 explores probability. 2 dice are thrown. What is the probability of getting the same number on both?
We're looking for doubles 1 and 1, 2 and 2, up to 6 and 6. That is 6 specific Successful outcomes out of a possible 36 combinations. 6 over 36 simplifies to 1 over 6.
We are in the final 5 questions now. Endurance matters here. Question 61 is profit and loss. By selling 20 pens, a shopkeeper gains an amount equal to the selling price of 4 pens. Find his profit percent.
We have to translate the English sentence into a mathematical equation.
So the gain, which is the selling price, or SP, of 20 minus the cost price, or CP, of 20 equals the SP of 4.
Correct. When you rearrange that equation, bringing the SPs to one side, you find that the selling price of 16 pens equals the cost price of 20 pens.
That means the ratio of SP to CP is 20 divided by 16, which reduces to 5 over 4.
And that extra 1/4 above the baseline represents a 25% profit.
Question 62 is about averages. A family of 5 has an average age of 24 years. The youngest member is 8. What was the family's average age at the time of the youngest member's birth?
Okay, the total current age is 5 times 24, which is 120.
Do I just subtract the 8-year-old's age from 120?
No, because you have to remember the physical reality of the situation. Time flows backward for everyone.
Oh, right. You can't forget that everyone else was aging, too.
Exactly. To go back 8 years to the birth, you have to subtract 8 years for all 5 members. 5 times 8 is 40 years. Subtracting 40 from 120 gives a total family age of 80 years at that time.
Divide that 80 by the 5 members, and the average was 16 years.
Question 63 is a ratio puzzle. 1,700 rupees is divided among A, B, and C. A gets 2/3 of what B gets. B gets 1/4 of what C gets. What is C's share?
Let's use B as the anchor and call B's share X. That makes A equal to 2X over 3. And if B is 1/4 of C, then C must be 4X.
You set up the equation perfectly. 2x over 3 plus x plus 4x equals 1,700.
If you find a common denominator and solve for X, you discover X equals 300. The question wants C's share, which is 4X. 4 times 300 means C gets 1,200 rupees.
Second to last, question 64 is mensuration. A wire forming a square of side 22 centimeters is rebent into a circle. Find the radius of the circle.
If the square side is 22, the perimeter, meaning the total physical length of the wire, is 4 times 22, or 88 centimeters.
Because it is the exact same wire, the circumference of the new circle is also 88 centimeters. The formula for circumference is 2 times pi times the radius.
So 2 times 22 over 7 times the radius equals 88. Solving for the radius gives you exactly 14 centimeters.
And here we are, the final hurdle, question 65. Compound interest. In how many years will 8,000 rupees amount to 9,261 rupees at 5% per annum compounded annually?
The core mechanism of compound interest centers on the ratio of the final amount of the principal. So we divide 961 by 8,000.
That ratio equals 1.157625. Now, an interest rate of 5% means our multiplier each year is 1.05.
You just need to figure out how many times you multiply 1.05 by itself to reach that ratio. 1.05 to the power of 3 perfectly equals 1.157625. Therefore, the timeline is exactly 3 years.
You did it. You successfully navigated all 35 quantitative aptitude questions without skipping a single beat.
You faced down that wall of numbers, you found the logical mechanisms holding them together, and you solved them.
It is an immense accomplishment. Sustaining that level of focus is demanding, and you should be proud of the work you just put in. I want to leave you with a slightly different perspective on all these calculations.
What should a student take away from this, beyond just a good score on a preliminary exam?
Well, mathematics is not just a hurdle designed to test your patience. It is the underlying language of the banking sector you are striving to enter. The way compound interest exponentially grows, the way risk is balanced in an equation, the way hidden patterns are spotted in a sea of raw data.
It's all connected.
Yes. When you master this section, you aren't just passing a test. You are learning how to read the actual heartbeat of the economy.
Trust your preparation. Remember the rules we unpacked today, and know that you have everything you need to succeed on exam day. You've got this. Keep pushing forward.
So if I tell you that all cows are buffaloes and no buffalo is a goat, is a cow a goat?
Right. And your brain instantly tries to picture barnyard animals, doesn't it?
Exactly. You're visualizing farms. But to ace a high-level logic exam, you actually have to stop visualizing reality entirely. Like, you have to turn off the physical world.
It's completely counterintuitive, yeah. We spend our whole lives using context to understand the world, right? And then an exam like this comes along and, well, actively weaponizes your own common sense against you.
It totally does. Welcome to the deep dive, everyone. Today we are taking you into the mental gym for a A highly focused, incredibly personalized section.
We're looking at the reasoning ability section, right?
Yes, specifically the entire block of logic puzzles from the IBPS CRP POMT 2026 model paper. That's questions 66 through 100.
And listen, our mission today isn't to just, hand you a simple answer key.
No, definitely not.
If you're prepping for a highly competitive banking or management exam, you don't need us to do basic arithmetic for you. What you need is the underlying architecture.
The blueprints.
Exactly. We're going to break down the sequential flow of this exam, dissecting the cognitive traps that test makers set, and really prove that you already have the mental frameworks to master these scenarios.
So let's unpack this. The model paper kicks off with this spatial logic warm-up. Questions 66 to 70, we have 6 people in 2 rows.
Okay, setting the stage.
Right. Row 1 faces south, holding A, B, and C. Row 2 faces north, holding P, Q, and R. And just to make it a nightmare, they all have different professions.
Naturally.
The clues are just a flurry of contradictions. P is at an extreme end. R is immediately to P's right. R is a doctor facing the pilot. Q is an artist. B is a teacher facing P. A faces R. And C is not an engineer.
Yeah, when you hear a data dump like that, your working memory immediately overflows.
Oh, totally.
And that's by design. The test makers are trying to induce panic.
It works. I mean, it feels like setting a dinner table with strict, wildly conflicting seating requests from your guests. If I try to hold all those demands in my head at once, I just freeze. How do you even, find the starting line?
You have to ruthlessly hunt for the anchor point. Ignore all the floating variables, the professions, the negative clues like C is not an engineer, and look for the one piece of data that absolutely cannot move.
Okay, so where is that here?
Here, it's in the north-facing row, P, Q, and R. We are explicitly told P is at an extreme end, and R is immediately to P's right.
Wait, if they're facing north, their right is our right. So if R is to the right of P, P has to be on the far left, like the west end.
Precisely. You've locked it in. The bottom row is P, then R. Since there are only 3 seats, Q is forced in the far right position.
Oh, okay.
Your north-facing row is P, R, Q. Once the anchor is set, the rest of the dominoes fall.
Right, let's trace the dominoes. The clues say B faces P, A faces R. By pure elimination, C must face Q. So our top row facing south is BAC.
Exactly.
The physical chairs are filled. But what about the professions?
Well, we map the knowns first. R is a doctor, Q is an artist, B is a teacher. The clues tell us R, the doctor, faces the pilot. Since we know A faces R, A must be the pilot.
Oh, I see. Which leaves only the engineer and the lawyer for C and P. And the clue specifically says C is not an engineer, so C is the lawyer and P is the engineer.
See? We just took complete chaos and turned it into perfect order.
That's wild. But here's where I usually get trapped, especially in question 69. When the exam asks you to identify who is sitting immediately to the right of C, because C is in the top row facing south.
Right, this is a classic cognitive trap, inversion. Your brain naturally projects its own orientation onto the subject.
Yeah, if I look at the paper, C is on the far right, so my brain says there is no one to the right of C.
But for a person facing south, their right is actually your left towards the west.
Oh.
So the person sitting immediately to C's right is actually A. The trick is to physically turn your paper upside down for a second if you need to, or just firmly visualize stepping into their shoes.
That's a great hack. And then question 70 just asks for the incorrect pair, which is easy once the map is built. B is the teacher, so B pilot is wrong. Okay, we've conquered the dinner table.
Moving on.
Yeah, next, the exam forces us to get up and move. We transition into a direction sense journey, questions 71 to 75. A person starts at a port P, walks 8 meters north to Q, turns right and walks 6 meters to R, turns right again for 8 meters to S, and finally turns left for 2 meters to T.
It's a lot of turns.
It is. I have to admit, tracking multiple relative lefts and rights in my head causes a massive mental traffic jam. By the third turn, I'm completely disoriented.
And if you are trying to visualize yourself physically walking that path, turning your imaginary body, you're burning incredible amounts of cognitive energy.
So what's the workaround?
There's a better way. This is why airline pilots use vector mapping instead of relative left-right directions. When you remove yourself from the map and look top-down, emotional confusion disappears. Treat it like an invisible XY graph.
Oh, I see. So the starting point P is just coordinate 0, 0.
Exactly. Walking 8 meters north simply puts Q at 0, 8. Turning right, which we know is east, for 6 meters, puts R at 6, 8. Turning right again, which is south for 8 meters, brings you back down to the x-axis. So S is at 6, 0. Finally, a left turn from a south-facing position is east. Moving 2 meters puts your final destination, T, at 8, 0.
That completely demystifies it. You aren't walking anymore, you're just plotting data points.
Exactly.
So for question 71, T is on the same line as P, just 8 meters away. And 72 asks what direction T is from P. Just look at the coordinates. T is at 8 on the x-axis, P is at 0. It's exactly due east.
Simple as that.
But wait, for 73, what if they ask for the shortest distance between the starting point and, say, point R?
Well, P is at 0, 0, R is at 6, 8. At this level of exam prep, the moment you see a horizontal shift of 6 and a vertical shift of 8, alarm bells should be ringing.
Oh, because it's a triangle.
Right. You don't need to laboriously calculate the Pythagorean theorem. You should instantly recognize the 3, 4, 5 right triangle ratio just doubled. The base is 6, height is 8, so the hypotenuse, the shortest distance, is 10 meters.
It's about pattern recognition, not just calculation. And 74 asks for S with respect to Q. Q is 0, 8, S is 6, 0. It's east and down, so southeast.
Hold on.
And 75 is just total distance, which is adding the legs. 8 plus 6 plus 8 plus 2 is 24 meters. Easy. Okay, let's shift gears again. We've mapped a grid. Now the exam sits us back down, but this time in a circle for questions 76 to 80.
Right, combining spatial awareness with family dynamics.
Exactly. We have grandfather G, his son F, F's wife M, and their 2 children, son S and daughter D. 5 people in a circle facing the center. M is second to the left of F. D is exactly between F and MG, is immediately to the left of S.
Circular arrangements are notorious for causing spatial disorientation because the concepts of left and right become entirely curved.
Yes. When they say M is second to the left of F, if I just think left, I go the wrong way.
When everyone faces the center of a circle, left always means clockwise. Right always means anti-clockwise. If you try to imagine each person's left hand, you'll exhaust yourself.
Just remember the rule.
Just memorize the rule. Left is clockwise. So place F at the bottom of your circle. M is second to the left, so move 2 seats clockwise. D is exactly between them. So your clockwise sequence so far is F, D, M.
Okay, we have 2 adjacent seats left for the grandfather and the son. The clue says G is immediately to the left of S. Again, left is clockwise. So S must sit before G in the clockwise flow. Placing them in the remaining slots, the full clockwise circle is G, F, D, M, S.
Perfect. So for question 76, 2 seats from D facing center, moving right, which is anti-clockwise, lands you on G. And 77, 1 seat clockwise from M is S.
Right. Now, here is where the test makers add a layer of complexity for 78. They won't just ask who is sitting next to F. They will ask, how is the person sitting immediately to the right of F related to F?
That's nasty. They're forcing a context switch mid-thought.
They really are. Okay, right means anti-clockwise. Immediately anti-clockwise to F is G. Now I have to drop the spatial map and pull up the family tree. G is the grandfather, F is the father, so G is F's father. It's fascinating how the logic demands that rapid translation.
It's a stress test for your working memory. Can you hold a spatial map in one hand and a relational map in the other without dropping either?
Definitely. And wrapping up the set, 79 asks who is between F and S. Looking at our circle, it's G. And 80 asks how many between F and S counting clockwise. It's D and M, so exactly 2.
You navigated that perfectly.
Speaking of dropping maps, let's talk about syllogisms, questions 81 to 84. This is where we strip away the physical world entirely.
The ultimate test of logic.
Yeah. The exam throws statements at you like, some doors are gates, all gates are arches, and asks you to deduce if all doors are arches or if some doors are not arches. I usually try to visualize these like nesting Russian dolls.
The Russian doll metaphor is a great starting point for syllogisms, but I'd add a crucial warning. Sometimes those dolls only partially overlap like a Venn diagram, and your brain hates partial information.
It desperately wants to fill in the blanks using real-world assumptions.
Exactly, and you have to stop doing that. Look at the logical architecture. If some doors overlap with gates, and the entire gate circle is inside the arch circle, then those specific overlapping doors absolutely must be arches.
But what about the other doors? The ones that aren't gates?
We have no idea. The rule doesn't tell us.
Correct. So you cannot definitively say all doors are arches, and you cannot definitively say some doors are not arches. Neither conclusion is certain on its own.
But here is the elegant part. Think about the universe of doors. Either all of them are arches, or at least one of them isn't. There is no third option in standard logic.
Oh, wow. So they form a complementary pair. Even though neither is proven individually as a system, one of them absolutely must be true. So for 81, the answer is either I or 2 follows.
Precisely. Let's look at the barnyard example from your intro for question 82. All cows are buffaloes. No buffalo is a goat. Conclusion 1, no cow is a goat. Conclusion 2, some goats are buffaloes.
If every single cow doll is nested entirely inside the buffalo doll and the buffalo doll is completely segregated from the goat doll, then the cow doll can never touch the goat doll. Conclusion 1 is airtight.
Right.
But conclusion 2 directly violates the core rule, so only the first conclusion follows.
You're mapping the abstract architecture flawlessly. Question 83 is similar. Some rings are bands, all bands are loops.
Which means rings that are bands are also loops, so 1 follows. And since all bands are loops, naturally some loops are bands, so 2 follows. Both follow.
Exactly. And 84. All pages are sheets, some sheets are covers. So some sheets are pages, 2 follows, but we can't guarantee those pages of the sheets that are covers. So only 2 follows. Now let's take abstraction to its absolute limit for 85 to 87.
Oh boy. The coding block.
The next section replaces words entirely with mathematical symbols acting as a secret code. Plus means greater than, minus means less than, multiply means greater than or equal to, and so on.
This is where I want to flip the desk. They give you a sequence like A plus B, B multiply C, C equals D, and ask if D is greater than A. If I try to translate every symbol back into a word in my head while evaluating the logic, I freeze.
So don't translate them into words. Translate them into a visual hierarchy. These symbol puzzles are just disguised hierarchy chains.
How do you mean?
The trick isn't doing math. It's finding the top and bottom of the food chain to quickly eliminate wrong answers. Let's try 85. A is greater than B, B is greater than or equal to C, C is equal to D.
Okay, I can visualize that.
Look at the flow. The open end of the inequality sign is always pointing left towards A. A is greater than B, which is greater than or equal to C, which equals D. The energy flows in one direction. A is at the absolute top of this hierarchy. D is at the very bottom.
So if conclusion 1 asks if D is greater than A, I don't even need to look at the middle variables. D is at the bottom, A is at the top. The conclusion is instantly false. And conclusion 2 asks if B is greater than or equal to D, which fits the chain. So only 2 follows.
Exactly. What if the chain is mixed in question 86? Say M is less than N is less than or equal to O, and P is greater than O.
Okay, if P is greater than O, I can flip that to say O is less than P to keep the arrows pointing the same way. So M is less than N, which is less than or equal to O, which is less than P. Again, the energy flows smoothly from left to right. P is the absolute king of this chain. M is at the absolute bottom.
Right, so if the exam asks if M is greater than P or if N is equal to P, you can instantly reject both. Neither follows. You don't have to test individual variables. You just observe the unbroken flow of the hierarchy.
It's so much less intimidating when you view it as a single river flowing in one direction. And for 87, R is greater than or equals S, which is greater than or equal to T. So R is greater than or equal to T. The conclusions are R is greater than T and T is greater than or equal to R. Individually uncertain, but together they cover all options, so it's either I or O follows.
You've got it. From these pure abstractions, the exam suddenly jolts you back to human reality for 88 to 90. We move into deductive reasoning applied to complex family trees.
Lineage puzzles. It's like trying to figure out who is who at a massive family reunion, but everyone only speaks in cryptic riddles.
Right. Let's look at 88. R is the son of P. Q is the mother of R, is the daughter of R. The question asks, how is Q related to S?
I just built a quick mental ladder. S is at the bottom. Her parent is R. R's mother is Q. The mother of your parent is your grandmother. That one isn't too bad.
That's the baseline. But then they throw the photograph puzzle at you for 89. Amit looks at a photo and says, she is the wife of the only son of my grandmother.
My brain immediately tries to picture Amit, the photo, the grandmother, the son. It's too much.
Because you were reading it left to right. For lineage riddles, read them backwards. Start with the speaker. My grandmother.
Okay. Amit's grandmother. Moving backward. The only son of my grandmother. Well, the only son of his grandmother would have to be his father.
Keep moving backward. The wife of his father.
The wife of his father is his mother. Oh. By reading it backwards, you unravel the knot one string at a time. That's incredibly satisfying. And it works for the coded relations, too, in question 90, right? Where P at Q means P is the husband of Q, and Q hash R means Q is the mother of R.
Exactly. You just substitute the relationship and step through. P is married to the mother of R, making P the father of R. It's just a translation exercise.
Which brings us to the grand finale of the reasoning section, the final 10 questions, 91 through 100. This isn't a deep, multi-layered puzzle. It's a rapid-fire sequence of completely disconnected microtests. Number sequences, word formations, clock angles, alphabet ranks.
This is the cognitive agility sprint. The goal here isn't just logical deduction, it's mental flexibility. They are testing how fast you can switch context from language to math to spatial mapping without losing your methodical approach. Let's run the sprint. Question 91 drops a massive string of random numbers and asks you to count how many times a 7 feet is immediately followed by an even number. If you read the numbers out loud in your head, you'll lose track. You just have to let your eyes blur and scan for the visual shape of a 7. I see a 72, 74, 76, and 78. That's 4 instances.
Instantly, the context switches to linguistics for 92. You have the letters A, E, M, and T. How many meaningful English words can you form using each letter once?
This is pure anagramming. Team, meet, meet, and tame. 4 words.
Next, geometry in 93. What is the angle between the hour and minute hand of a clock at exactly 3.3?
I know a lot of people try to draw a clock face and guess the slice of the pie, but the hour hand moves while the minute hand moves, so it's never perfectly on the 3. Is there a shortcut?
There is a golden formula every test taker should memorize for clock problems. The angle is the absolute value of 30 times the hour minus 5.5 times the minutes. Let's apply it. Hour is 3, minutes are 30. 30 times 3 is 90. 5.5 times 30 is 165. The difference between 90 and 165 is 75. So exactly 75 degrees. No drawing required.
Switch context again to 94. Alphabetical sorting. If you take the word genius and sort its letters alphabetically E, G, I, N, S, U, how many letters remain in their original positions?
You literally just stack the 2 words visually in your mind, genius over against you. None of them match. 0.
Now, working memory overload for 95. In the word strength, how many letters exist in the actual English alphabet between the 3rd letter from the left of the word and the 2nd letter from the right of the word?
If you're listening to this and trying to track the letters in strength in your head, you're probably getting lost. That's exactly what the test makers want. Take it one tiny piece at a time. 3rd letter from the left of strength is R, 2nd from the right is T. The question is just asking, what's between R and T in the alphabet? It's S. But wait, in the word strength, oh no, the letters between R and T in the word are E, N, and G, 3 letters.
Good catch. Another alphabet trick for 96. Find the letter that is 7th to the right of the 10th letter from the left end of the alphabet.
This feels like the direction puzzle again. 10th letter is J. Moving right is just going forward in the alphabet. 7 forward from J lands on Q.
Now, order and ranking for 97. Vina is 14th from the left and 10th from the right in a row of girls. How many more girls need to join to make the row exactly 30?
The psychological trap here is just adding 14 and 10 to get 24, but Vina is one person being counted twice.
Right, you have to subtract 1.
So it's 14 plus 10 minus Vina's duplicate count. That's 23 girls currently. To hit a target of 30, we need 7 more.
Similar concept applied to weight in 98. K is heavier than only 2 friends. N is heavier than K but lighter than J. M is heavier than L. Who is the lightest?
Map it vertically. If K is heavier than exactly 2 people, K is sitting in the 3rd spot from the bottom out of 5. J is top, N is between J and K. The bottom 2 slots belong to M and L. Since M is heavier than L, L is trapped at the very bottom. L is the lightest.
Moving to cryptography for 99. The word DOG is coded as CMD. How is CAT coded?
Pattern recognition. D shifts back 1 to C, O shifts back 2 to M, G shifts back 3 to D. The sequence is -1, -2, -3. Apply that to C, A key. C -1 is B, A -2 is Y, T -3 is Q. The code is BYQ.
And the final hurdle, question 100, date logic. Ram remembers a birthdays between the 15th and 19th. His sister remembers it between the 17th and 20th.
I love this one because it's so elegant. Ram's data gives us a set, 16, 17, 18. The sister's data gives a set, 18, 19. Finding the truth is just finding the overlap in the Venn diagram. The only date they both agree on is the 18th.
And with that, you've completed the reasoning section. 35 distinct logic puzzles handled systematically.
If you're listening to this, I want you to just take a breath and recognize what we just did. We didn't use brute force. We didn't swing a sledgehammer. Reasoning ability isn't about being a born genius who can hold 50 variables in their head at once.
Not at all.
It's the exact opposite. It's the discipline of breaking an intimidating, intentionally confusing problem down into tiny, manageable truths. If you can decode one anchor point, if you can map one hierarchy chain, you can unravel the entire exam.
We just solved a sequence of artificial logic puzzles using frameworks that were invented centuries ago to understand the world. So I want to leave you with a thought for beyond the exam room.
Please do.
The next time you face a complex, highly emotional, real-world problem, maybe a conflict at work or a difficult life decision, try turning off your immediate emotional response. Ask yourself, if I mapped out the bare facts of this situation like a spatial seating chart, or stripped away my assumptions like a syllogism, what hidden truth would reveal itself?